After me and Gio had soba, I had to go. I still needed to see Shinobu and Miss Tamio. I said, what? Do it again. What? I think it's supposed to say we would do it again. But it says, never mind. Sometime. And I went on my merry way. You arrived at the butterfly estate and looked for Shinobu, but then you saw, oh my god, I hate it how it's Kanao and Kane. I think this one is Kanao, if I say them correctly. You ran behind her and gave her a hug. Kanao, she turned, surprised to see you. Ian, it's been forever. How have you been? How have you been following your heart? Are you not participating in the Hashir training, or did you already complete it? You were asking here a ton of questions while she was just blushing mess. You two saw each other sometimes, and she kind of feel for you more and more each time. So she kind of obsessed with you. She was mostly just enjoying listening to your voice, not really paying attention to the fact that you were asking her questions. I already forgot what I said. Now, what? Are you okay? Oh, yes, I'm fine. Sorry, I got lost in my thoughts. Do you know where Shinobu is? Oh, she's in her study. Thanks, Hinao. Let's hang out later, you said as you started walking to Shinobu's study. Shinobu-san? Yin-chan, Shinobu said with Tamio next to her. Miss Tamio. I ran over to her and gave her a hug. Yin-chan, it's good to see you again, dear. And then I saw Yushiro with a glare. I let go and went to give him a hug. Yushiro! He put his hand in front of him, stopping me from hugging him. Don't hug me. I stood up straight and giggled. It's nice to see you haven't changed a bit. You pulled out the conversation by Shinobu. It's nice to see you join us, Yin-chan. Me and Tamio are currently working on a cure to turn demons back into humans, and a deadly poison for demons. I walked over and looked over at the other ingredients for the cure, and the other for the poison. It seems the poison is going well. Most of these would be mostly dangerous to common demons, and are bound to slow down upper moon demons by a significant amount. Though it wouldn't hurt to add a bit more wisteria on this one. You pointed at the poison. Miss Tamio, can I ask you how the antidote is going? With the blood samples you and Tanjiro have collected for me, it has been very useful. Though I am really impressed you were able to collect blood from demons that were so close to Muzan himself. With most of blood samples, I will be able to make an antidote in no time. Thank you, Yin-chan. She smiled and you gave her one back. Anything to help us bring the end to this suffering for you, for demons, and humans. Then all of you started working on the poison and antidotes. Shinobu left for a short time to get you and her some tea. You then had a question for Miss Tamio. Miss Tamio? Yes, Yin-chan? How did you break Muzan's curse? Oh, well, that's a story from a long time ago, when I used to be a follower of Kibuzuji. A very long time ago, there was a man with long hair and a ponytail, much like Tanjiro's. Now that I think about it, he and Tanjiro look awfully alike. He wore a red hori over a pale orange. Oh my god, I'm not saying that because I know I'm going to say it wrong. Kimono, with a black unmori style hanakama, a pair of zoris, and with red straps, and white tabby socks, with a Nichiren sword carried at the left side of his waist, conventional to most demon slayers. He sported Hanafu earrings, the same earrings Tanjiro wore. He also had a mark on his head, like Tanjiro, but much bigger. I was with Kibutsuji, and he appeared before us in the bamboo forest. Even then, Kibutsuji was incredibly strong, but the man was even stronger. He dodged his attacks flawlessly. Granted, any attacks would have been fatal. Even if he got hit, it would be over. The man attacked Kibutsuji, and that was the first and only time I had ever seen fear on his face. I felt a glimpse of hope when I witnessed this. The man asked him, "What is it, the value of a life to you?" I don't understand why he asked that, but it did not matter because Kibutsuji didn't answer. The man took a step forward towards him, but Kibutsuji blasted it into a million pieces to escape and regenerate. The man almost got all the pieces, but in the end, Kibutsuji had escaped. I screamed that I wished he died and accidentally said his name, but the curse didn't affect me. I suppose in his weakened state, I said his name, and the curse wasn't affected. The man talked to me and asked me to help. He let me go, and ever since then, I've been trying to find a cure. You showed pure amazement. Such a demon slayer existed once that almost defeated the demon protector. That's how it's spelled, so I'm going to go with it. Himself? You also were told that Muzan back then was incredibly strong. That kind of discouraged you because all these years, he's just been getting stronger and stronger. But then you thought about this generation of demon slayers. You had high hopes, like the master. The current Hashira are so amazing. Also, some of the younger generation had possibilities, like Tanjiro, Inosuke, Zenitsu, Genya, and Kinao. All I have to do is train hard and have faith that everything will turn out just fine. Shinobu then walked in with some tea. I'm back. Ah, Shinobu, thank you for bringing me some tea. Of course, Yin-chan. You've been working hard. I took a sip of the tea and smiled, feeling relaxed. We continued working for a while, until I had to go home. I said my goodbyes to the three of them and went home. I arrived home to see Doma talking to Akaza. While Akaza looked annoyed, I didn't see Kokushibo, but I assumed he was in the kitchen, 'cause I could hear some noise. Doma and me made eye contact. He smiled wider and ran over to me to give me a hug. Yin-chan! Doma, let go of her. Akaza was marching over to knock off Doma's head, but I stopped him. Akaza, it's fine. I don't mind. Akaza grumbled, as Doma just snuggled his cheek against mine. Kokushibo walked in and grabbed me away from Doma, setting me down. Kokushibo, I wasn't done hugging Yin-chan. You are never done hugging Yin-sama. I need them to see if what I prepared for their meal is acceptable. He then took my hand and led me to the kitchen. I know you had a mission today, so I decided to make you food for you, so you could relax. You hugged Kokushibo. Aw, that's sweet of you, Kokushibo. Thank you. This looks very delicious. He blushed with a bright shade of red. It's no trouble. We sat down and I put my hands together, saying thank you for the meal. Then I began to eat. The other two came in and sat down at the table. They all asked me how my day was, and I told them what I did that day. They all let out a surprised, shocked aura when I mentioned Miss Tamio. Tamio? The rebel? I'm surprised she's still alive. Kokushibo said with a blank expression, like normal. That man would always get so angry when she was mentioned. Doma laughed. And she's working with the demon slayers to create a cure as well as other poisons? Akaza questioned. I nodded my head because my mouth was full. After I swallowed and explained a bit, I sensed a very the angry aura from Kokushibo when I told the story of Miss Tamio told me. After the story, he got up and walked away. I was surprised. He just stood up and walked away. I finished my bowl and put it on the counter to wash later. Then I went to go look for him. He wasn't in the room or the garden, but before I walked back in, I saw him on the roof and saw him looking at the moon. I sat next to him. I'm sorry I left so suddenly. I didn't mean to worry you. It's okay. I'm just want to know what made you so mad. Did you perhaps know that demon slayer? Know him? I did. He was my twin. My eyes wide in surprise. He was what I wished to be. Even at a young age, he surpassed me. He could see the transparent world at a young age. He was blessed with amazing swordsmanship without any training. Yet he didn't wish to become a samurai like me. He said he didn't like idea of hurting people. It didn't make sense to me. He became a demon slayer and created the sun-breathing form. I became a demon slayer like him, but I still couldn't surpass him. I became a demon in hopes to surpass him. Do you know about the slayer mark? I held my sleeves in my hori. Yes, it makes a demon slayer more stronger and faster, but the side effects are that they are to die at the age of 25 upon unlocking it. Kokushibo nodded his head. My brother surpassed that. He lived to the age of 85. When we met, he was old and blind. He cried for me before he attacked. Despite his old age and blindness, he almost killed me. In a single attack, he had a good cut on my neck. He died standing up. Oh, Kokushibo. All those years of rage and envy, I did something I know you would not be happy with. I sliced my brother's dead body in half. I couldn't believe what I just heard. He sliced his brother's body even though he was already dead. Kokushibo then pulled out something, and it was a broken flute. I tilted my head. When we were children, I made this flute for him. He one night left our house for a temple, and he told me before departing, he thinks this flute as me. I didn't know why he treasured it so much. It was a piece of junk that played off pitch. Even in his last moments, he had it with him. I saw it fall out of his hori when I sliced him in half. Why did he love this so much? Well, depending on the answer to the question I'm about to ask you, you might answer with your own question. He looked at me curiously. All these years, you have hated him, even after death. Why did you keep the flute? You call it a piece of junk that only can play off pitch, so why keep it? He looked at it and gave off a sense of overwhelming emotion. Maybe that's a bit too hard to answer. Here's an easier one. Why do you think your brother kept the flute? I don't know. I held out my hands. May I hold it? He put it in my hands. Thank you. I closed my eyes and I concentrated on the aura and emotion embedded in this flute. The emotion brought me to tears. Ian-sama, I wiped my tears and smiled. Why did you start crying? I felt the emotions embedded in the flute. Your brother's emotions. Kokushibo looked shocked. Kokushibo, your brother loved you so much. Even when you became a demon, he still loved you so deeply. The amount of love he felt for you brought me into tears. I then grabbed his hands, putting the flute gently back into his palms, and held his hands while he held the flute. When you grabbed his hands, he felt a new sense of love, the love his brother had for him. You know why your brother kept it, but why did you keep it? Silence. You smiled. I think under all that envy and hate, you also love your brother. Am I right? When you think of him, Aren't there many memories when you didn't feel angry or hate? Once again, silence. Kokushibo went through his memories, but now they felt different. They weren't full of envy, hate, or pity. They now brought him to tears. He held the flute close to him. You two had brotherly bond that even after all these years. I'm sorry for the yawning. Couldn't be separated. No matter how much you thought you hated him, you still loved the same way he loved you. He then hugged you and sobbed into your shoulder. He was strong. Oh, strange seeing one of the most powerful demons cry hysterically into your shoulder. You brought up his face and wiped away his tears with a handkerchief you kept on you. You cupped his face and leaned into it. Warm, he thought. You two sat in silence for a couple minutes. Thank you, Ian-sama. Of course. I don't want you to feel this way. I want you to be happy. He looked at you and smiled. Well, I do feel very happy right now. You closed your eyes and sighed. I'm glad you feel that. Your eyes shut open and saw that Kokushibo was kissing you? It was so passionate but gentle. His eyes were closed as he pulled you in. You didn't know how to respond. You kind of just let it happen. He then parted his lips from yours to let out a catch of breath. You had a lovesick expression on, and you had a giant blush. Oh, sorry, I said he had a lovesick expression on, and you had a giant blush spread across your face. Yours seemed to be caught up in your own head, so you didn't notice. Kokushibo got in your face. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Yin-sama. He then hugged you. I'll be heading to my room. I have a feeling you want to be alone. Also, you can call me, I'm gonna butcher his real name, but Michikatsu? It's my real name before I became a demon. He then went into the house as you were trying to comprehend what just happened. You put your hands on your very red cheeks as he tried to process your feelings. But you've never experienced something like this before, and you didn't know how to respond to it. I'm so confused.